We're back at RSA 2024. We're in Moscow West, Broadcast Alley. I'm Jeff Mann, co-host of Paul Security Weekly, trying to push through the barrier of it being the third day here at RSA. But I'm here right now excited to talk to Tony Aurigemma. He's the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Anomali. Tony, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff.
To Broadcast Alley.
Appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the business of cybersecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in cyber for about 20 years now.
Okay.
So I spent a bulk of my career at IBM Security, as part of the group that built that division and took it out. And of course, IBM is well known for QRadar and Guardium, but a host of other security solutions. So cut my teeth in a really wide swath of different technologies, and now obviously moved on and focused around security operations space.
And you work for this company called Anomali.
Anomali, yeah. So
a play on words, I guess.
Yeah, play on words, pun intended, I guess. Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about Anomali. So Anomali's been around for a while. A lot of people know Anomali. We're a Silicon Valley company. We're based down here in Redwood City, so we're local. Mm-hmm. And we have what we call an AI-powered security operations platform. Okay. It's a proprietary big data engine, and what we try to do is solve for a lot of the limitations of legacy security operations tools around visibility, speed, performance, and try to simplify a lot of what has gotten concocted together around SIM, XDR, MDR, ETL, TIP, and all of these different things. And we take an approach to make this very naturalistic and very simple, but also open up a much wider set of telemetry that people can use to secure themselves.
So you're that machine in Willy Wonka where everything goes into it and out comes a nice delectable piece of candy that can be easily consumed.
Yeah, so I talk about this a lot with customers. So a lot of people know Anomali from our history in intelligence, and we still focus a lot on intelligence, because if you think about what it is, detecting a threat is something that is a byproduct of a rule that you've set. It doesn't necessarily tell you whether or not that's a valid threat or not. So what we've always brought to the table is intelligence to confirm whether or not that's a threat and what's the priority level of that threat. And the way that we've done that is we've consumed a massive amount of data, understood the context of that data and context of who you are, what your business is, what you're doing, and what is the telemetry around it, to say, yeah, that actually is a threat. So yeah, there's a little bit of Willy Wonka magic that happens in there.
Well, and I have a DoD background going back many years, let's say, where the idea of anomaly detection had to do with my earliest memories of it is detecting things that might be flying towards you from over the horizon where you're not seeing it until too late. Yeah. So, but even migrating into the tech world, into the internet world, into now what we call cyber, it was all about learning what's normal so that you're more likely to detect the not normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anomaly.
Yeah.
So I get it on the concept.
Yeah.
So how has Anomali as a company changed over the last 10 years? How have you evolved given the changing world that we're in?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting because our intent was always around big data. How do you consume a large amount of data, make sense of it, and act on the things that are really pertinent to you? And I love that analysis, like, let's look over the horizon, what's out there, right? And so if you're sitting on passive threat detection rules and things like that, you're always waiting for something to hit you. Right. And the whole idea of Anomali is, let's look out at intelligence. And what is intelligence? It's telling you about what's actually happening out in the environment. Threat actors, threat vectors, different techniques that are being used, and then warning you ahead of time these things, and it can affect you because of who you are and what you're doing, the tools that you're using. Right. That's what we do. We focus that around specifically threat intelligence. But what we were solving for along the way was really a big data problem. How do you consume that kind of data? And what customers were continually coming to us saying, well, can I give you telemetry that I can't get my existing tools to understand, or I can't get my tools to scale to, because
Right.
it's just really big and gnarly.
Yep.
And what we realized was we were really solving for something that was bigger out there, which is people aren't getting to the visibility that they need. The tools that they're using aren't able to understand that data. And what we've built out is something that can scale to petabytes of data, really massive. And so people are bringing us in to solve for those deep threat hunting tools,
Yep.
but also in some cases completely displace their security operations. There's just a simpler way to go about it.
Yeah, it's not like we've made this problem any easier over time by synthesizing and drilling down and simplifying the data that's out there. I mean, it's more and more and more and more every day. And what I'm hearing you say is all the companies go out and buy all the fancy products that produce all this data, and then what? And we've certainly heard of breaches over the years where the companies might have had the detection tool in place and it might have been screaming, there's something happening,
Yes.
but there was so much noise, they didn't notice that little blinky light or the screaming or the siren.
Absolutely. I mean, there's multiple levels to that challenge. I mean, one of it is just the proliferation of tools, and we all know this. Love
Yep.
RSA, I love this industry, but you go down to the floor, how do you figure out how are you going to apply all these tools? And when you bring in 75 plus tools into an enterprise environment,
Yep.
there's no way you can run those tools effectively. So you have flashing lights going on all the time. How do you know you got your eyeballs in the right one? And there's certainly been a lot of attempts through SOAR platforms and different integration platforms to try to automate that, but that problem still persists, right? And that's
Right.
a lot of what we focus on. I love the word you use, simplify. We want to make this really simple. And
Right.
the way that we invite customers in to engage with it is engage with it in natural language. Yes, it's AI, but it's really about how does you as a human being say, this is the business that I'm in, how am I exposed by risks out in the environment based on what I do and where my telemetry is coming in, whether that's in-house, through the cloud, and everywhere. And so that simplification is what we're trying to do. And I get asked that question all the time, and came up actually twice today, is how do I leverage you guys to just give me an overview of what's happening across our environment? And that's a great use case for how people use us.
Yeah, I had this thought yesterday, and I'm surprised some PR marketing person hasn't figured it out yet, but some sort of concept of how do you eat the cyber elephant,
Yeah.
one cyber bite at a time or something like that, or maybe 1 petabyte at a time. Let's have a little bit of fun
Yeah.
with it. Out of curiosity, are you taking any and all data these days, or are you more focused on collectively what would be the output of security products?
So we can work with any type of data. So
Okay.
obviously we've put our laser focus on security telemetry, but oftentimes the use cases that we end up solving are, most people will call it fusion. Right? Okay, so now I want to look at OT data, I want to look at IT data,
Right.
I want to look at fraud, I want to look at all these different elements, and that's the beauty of what we've built. It's a big data engine. I think it's one of the fastest and scalable engines out there, but we've been working on out-of-the-box use cases that are completely outside of not even just security and IT, but research, and how do you use that engine to look at what I have people in the lines of business doing, and can I leverage this technology? So it's really been a fun thing to do with customers.
Are you able to sort of tailor searches to specific targets or specific potential targets or specific data sets that clients are more worried about protecting than maybe another
Yeah,
data
absolutely.
set?
So that's one of the beauties of what our Copilot does. So we have Anomali Copilot, which is our AI engine. The unique part about that is it's working off of our intelligence repository. So again, that history and what people know Anomali well is we have the world's largest repository of intelligence.
Okay.
And so when you're working in our Copilot, it is working off that intelligence repository. What that does is, one, it makes it safe, it makes it a lot higher fidelity, but also it's closed repository, so it doesn't hallucinate, and it gives you really high fidelity answers. But what we're able to do then is allow you to interact with it in a very naturalistic way, and if you give us data models, then you can start to focus in on, I want to know about these specific things. So it's a reasoning engine around that technology and then around that telemetry. So so you can ask it very simple things about, hey, what's move it? What's lockbit? What do I need to worry about there? Am I affected? There's really interesting things that you can apply there.
Out of curiosity, and I hope this is not a curveball question, but I have heard several discussions throughout the week and throughout the previous year or so of some of the concerns about some of these emerging technologies and emerging capabilities, let's say, where this data set that you're collecting, is it a particular client's data set, or is it all the data set, and how are you addressing the concerns of some that are concerned about how you're consuming my data and possibly sharing it with a competitor or things like that?
So I think first of all, you've got to look at that data inside of a safe container. So in our case, we're cloud-based. We work at AWS. Those are in secure containers, and we work inside of that environment. Okay. Number two, we don't pull anything into our engines on the back end, right? Okay. Well, we will look at the data. We don't ingest any of that data, and that is a problem that certain engines have incurred here because they're leaching data on the back end and they're exposing it, right? Which is a real no. You should never be doing that. And we answer that question all the time from customers and prospects to say, well, what happens to my data? If I point it to you, do I have to give it to you? No, just point it at us. You put it in the safest place you want it. We will never pull or extract anything from you. From it and keep it. And that's something everybody should ask.
You're reviewing it, characterizing it, capturing data points about it, metadata, to use a data term, metadata.
Metadata, absolutely.
Characteristics.
Characteristics, trends, right?
So in some sense, it's anonymized kind of right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I would be remiss for our audience. They know that I work in the PCI field, and PCI has been around for 20 years now, and just rolled out version 4. And one of the changes that are happening in version 4 that is requiring, and of course these are all entities, organizations that deal somehow with payment card security, so the protection of the credit card number, the debit card number, and anything associated with that. One of the requirements in terms of logging and monitoring is the reviewing of the logs, the reviewing of the data, and PCI has been trying for probably 15 years to move organizations to a more continuous monitoring type of concept, but in version 4 they're saying, okay, you get a grace period, so it's a new rule, will be enforced next April, but definitely requires the automated review of data. Do you have clients that kind of play in that space? Are you ready to help them with that?
Yeah, well, we certainly have a lot of financial services, a lot of retail clients that PCI is one of their top 3 main concerns. And you're right. I mean, whether it's regulatory, government requirements of continuous monitoring, having a multi-year history on file so we can go back and look at it. These are all problems. When I go back to talking about the visibility challenge, that's the real visibility challenge. The tools that they're sitting on aren't capable of doing that. It's very expensive in some cases to do that, and that's where we think we're helping out a lot. Is they're looking to us and saying, okay, this is a tool that I can actually get the speed, scale, and performance I need to actually keep that stuff running on a continuous loop and go back. So we can go back 7+ years without any challenge and slow down in the performance. So it helps that challenge a lot.
Cool. We've only got a few minutes left. Sort of open floor. What's the message that you're really trying to get to the RSA community today and our audience at large?
Yeah. So I think for us, it's all about how do we help businesses protect what they do and propel businesses forward. What we're trying to do is liberate people from all of these different siloed security operations tools that they've used, right? And we have created kind of a logjam here, a lot of different things, right? So get away from the tools. Look at what you're trying to do in your business. What are you trying to protect from? Based on your business, what's your highest level of risk? Get the visibility that you need. Bring all of that data to one place where you can actually look all of it. Be current. The threats that are impacting you now are likely have been there for 6 months or longer in a lot of cases. If you're not looking at that history in continuous basis, you're missing things. So you're not going to detect things that are actually present inside of your environment. So look for tools that can give you that full visibility. Look for tools that unlock you out of proprietary query language and building, right? The thing about AI is everybody's out here talking about it. It's a beautiful thing if you can leverage it to go from human to machine language, and that's part of what we do. Talk to it, it will create that query language for you. You can augment it from there, but we can help bring on analysts, give them all that visibility, but they could be 2 days out of school and they could be operating our platform doing intense querying just simply by human interface with our. So I would encourage everybody, look at what you're trying to do before you're looking for the next tool.
What I like to call the purpose. Why are you doing what
Why?
you're doing?
Always got to start with the why.
Yeah. Well, great. Appreciate your time
Absolutely,
today. Appreciate learning a little bit more about Anomali. For those of us listening, if you want to find out more, go to securityweekly.com/anomaly. That's with an I, and then RSAC. We want to thank you. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.